poetry.
Tonight on Live from the Theater Basement, we talk with Flagstaff poet Erik Bitsui. His poem, Today on the Res, is based very solidly in a Diné community, with the setting and characters being grounded in that community. What does that community mean to him, and how does that influence his work? We have Diné poet Erik Bitsui tonight on Live from the Theater Basement.
Gold Wolf Jewelers. Fine jewelry sales, custom jewelry creation, jewelry repairs, and cleaning. Low overhead of this locally owned and operated jewelry store means the best value for you. Gold Wolf Jewelers, 1500 East Cedar Avenue in Flagstaff, Arizona.
I'm your host, Chris Verrill. Tonight's correspondent, Jamie Stanton. Jamie talks with Diné poet Erik Bitsui tonight, here on Live from the Theater Basement.
Thanks, Chris. I am Jamie Stanton, and with me today is Erik Bitsui. He is an author who has pieces in Defunct Magazine, Waxwing Magazine, and the anthology, The Diné Reader. He writes poetry and nonfiction articles, performs spoken word, and is a DJ. Hello and welcome.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You're very open about your love of heavy metal, and I was wondering, do you ever take inspiration from your favorite songs when you're writing? What does that look like?
Good question. Let's see. I think sneaking in information and to educate my readers about certain events, like life events. If you listen to Iron Maiden, you can learn all about European history, the British Isles history, pharaohs and kings. You can learn about corruption in politics with Metallica, nuclear annihilation with Megadeth, all with crunching heavy guitars and double bass beats. So that's my mission, is to entertain as well as to inform.
Interesting. I love that. And I think also for writing, that might be good advice to look for places in which you can insert things you're passionate about.
Right.
As well as being a published author, you perform at open mic nights. Is there a difference in how you write poetry or prose when it's meant to be spoken instead of read?
Okay. Well, I would hope that all of my readers would read my works aloud.
Really?
Read them out aloud. That's how I intend my works to. That's how I want to deliver my message, as if I'm speaking to the reader themselves on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah, I noticed in a lot of your articles you have a very distinct voice that does feel very conversational.
Yes. I read every article that I write, and if I ever stumble, I go back and correct that mistake. Nice. Until I can go through a whole article until I have no mistakes.
So it's part of your editing process.
Yes.
To read it out loud and see where you naturally stumble.
Yes, for now. At least that's the style for now. But it's the voice.
I love that. I write sometimes too, mostly plays, and these are the sort of things that I love hearing from other authors, is how they specifically edit their stuff.
Right.
Because people don't teach you to edit as much as they try to teach you to write.
Right, yes. Some of my favorite poets can read from memory alone, and that is just mind-boggling. I don't know how they do it, but how they explained it was, it's like hearing your favorite song. Your favorite song, when you're singing the song, you don't ever mess up.
Right.
You know every word that comes next. So when I write, that's the type of greasy delivery that I want, an oily platform, just so I can shoo right to the reader's ear.
Interesting. Speaking of poetry, in your poem Today on the Res, the narrator of the poem appears to change several times, but it's hard to catch because the narrator themselves is only identified in relation to the people around them, such as like my wife or my cousin or my husband. Is there a particular reason why you chose to do this?
Oh, good question. Well, my manuscript being released through Tolson Books in March of 2023, 11 months from now. My first book, 16 short stories, short essays. I'm calling them stunts. 15 of them all deal with the voice, like I talked about, the single point perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Just the I, the me voice, the first person voice. And I felt that was a little too egocentric. So with Today on the Res, I wanted to have a bunch of voices speaking instead. So it's many different people.
Interesting.
Little kids, older grandpas, teenagers, unwed mothers, uncles, a wide range of voices, rather than just my egotistical self.
Nice. I like that, having it have a more community feel in the poem itself by having all of those different narrators. Speaking of community, in Today on the Res obviously is very based in community and based in the Diné community, with the setting and the characters being grounded in that community. What does community mean to you, and does that influence your work?
Oh, wow. Let's see. Well, community, yes, but it takes a pueblo to raise a child. It takes a Navajo community to raise one Navajo child. I think all of the voices, you were surrounded by music, we're surrounded by poetry, we're surrounded by teachings wherever we go. For instance, the necklace that I'm wearing right now is it's called ears, translated jaw. So because they look like ears.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the lobes.
Right. So when I heard that when I was a child, I was just fascinated because it did look like ears, and this is poetry itself. And I have a story that goes along with where I got this necklace from. So we're surrounded by stories, and we were just talking about the setting here, the coal chutes and the history of this building, and we're surrounded by stories. So community means a lot because we have information coming from everywhere, important life experiences that no one else can experience but the person themselves, and that's how we can learn to live together and learn to grow as a humanity.
So is sharing that poetry and those stories an integral part of the community? Is the sharing of the stories?
Yes. Whenever I see my mother or see my grandmother, she wants to know how my kids are doing, how my wife is doing, how my best friend is doing, how my in-laws are doing. And she wants to, and I tell stories with her, and she'll tell me stories as well.
Do you try to replicate that with your writing, with your poetry and articles?
Yes. I do like the, talking about the Bible for a second, Ecclesiastes, the book, where the writer is speaking to young young practitioners, young people,
Uh-huh.
and bestowing on them lessons. And that's what I try to deliver to my readers, is give them little lessons, life lessons, here and there about what life was like here and now, because the here and now will be different 5 seconds from now. But that's what I try to do, is to deliver messages to my readers, much like a wise old grandfather, Navajo grandfather.
Nice. I like that. I also like the feeling of relating to people who are coming after what your experiences are in the here and now, because it's very aware of the fleetingness of time and saying, these are the things I want to continue on and the stories I want to give to the people who will come after me.
Right. Yeah, these are very important things, that every person on earth is very important, and they are full of stories, and they're important to humanity itself. So we are all wandering storytellers. So we're made of stories, and we can learn from one another if we just sit and listen.
Like that. Just sit and listen. Well, thank you for being on Live from the Theater Basement. It was very good to have you. Back to you, Chris.
Mother Road Brewing Company, brewing distinguished beers and building community one pint at a time. Join the adventure. Mother Road Brewing, local, independent, Arizona.
Our correspondent today, Jamie Stanton, with Diné poet Erik Bitsui. Wonderful to have you here with us, Erik. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Hey, our producers, Jamie Stanton, they're pulling double duty with Linda Soterup, engineer Matt Brewer, technician Ava Haynes, associate producers Virginia Brown, Joe Maniglia, and Michael Roulon. Our correspondents, Mackenzie Chase, Jamie Asapis, and of course Jamie. And our crew, Justin Moscow, Isabella Zagari, Dramaturgy, Theatrikos Artistic Committee, Play Curation, Northern Arizona Playwriting Showcase, Executive Producer, Chris Merrill. Live from the Theater Basement, streaming live on Sunday evenings at 7:30 p.m. Well, not so much live anymore as we wrap up the show, but it does drop every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. And of course, it's available wherever you get your podcast. It's a production of Theatrikos Theatre Company. We've been doing this the whole time with the good folks at Northern Arizona Playwriting Showcase and Deuteron Films, who set up all the engineering to make it possible. Theatrikos Theatre Company, Flagstaff, Arizona, is the theater company of Northern Arizona and the Grand Canyon. Embracing the spirit of Broadway with such shows as The Foreigner. When does that open? It says it opens here on Friday, May 20th. It's a great show, a hilarious show. Live from the Theater Basement, the weekly podcast streaming show Theatrikos Theatre Company alternates between 10-minute short plays and interviews with Arizona arts leaders. If you, as a listener viewer, have input, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at theater@theatrikos.com. Live from the Theater Basement, dropping every Sunday evening at 7:30 p.m. and available wherever you get your podcasts, is funded in part by Creative Flagstaff, formerly the Flagstaff Arts Council, and the Arizona Community Foundation. Additional funding from the Arizona Commission on the Arts, Flagstaff 365, BBB revenue of the City of Flagstaff, Gaff Country Radio, and patrons of the arts like you. Thanks for joining us here on Live from the Theater Basement. This is Theatrikos. Coming up on Live from the Theater Basement, Theatrikos turns 50. Hey, that's right. Theatrikos, founded in 1972 is celebrating our 50th anniversary. We will talk about the history of the theater and the anniversary celebrations. That's next week, May 22nd at 7:30 p.m. and wherever you get your podcasts.
you.